MiR really come into the picture because I was, after 8-9 years at university, I was getting a bit bored. So I was looking into what other projects were possible, what capability did you actually have. I had learned a lot of new technology being at university, being part of different research projects and having a lot of students there. So just knew that in this first decade of the millennium there was a lot of things going on with self-driving cars. This whole ability, the market was opening, you had the technology ready, you had this 3D cameras that could come down to affordable price with Microsoft first Kinect Pro for the Xbox there. A great toy, but also a great scientific tool you can actually use to have a much better understanding on 3D depth for amount of money that was affordable. And then you have the computers coming down in price, so the capability of the computer was just so much better. So I built my first robot there in 1992 for a dean at that time at university. And at that time the computing power was really, really small and took a lot of energy, so we could run about 15 minutes on the batteries, and that was all. And then was just worn down, and 90% of the energy was taken actually by the computers there, and they're just huge machines that we had to put on. At that time, of course, we saw they was pretty mobile, but there 20 years later, that was a totally other ball game there. Now we could really have the computers in much smaller space. So having the computer, the ideas, and the sensors, the ground was fertile for coming up with this ability of having mobile robots. Because the mobile robot needs to have its own energy source embedded on the system there, just like your mobile phone. So actually, a lot of technology for mobile phone is somewhat similar because it needs to be efficient and low in energy. And that's the technology we put onto the robots there. Yeah. And then there was a market opening. I was in US in 2011, in I think end of October there, for a summit there called Robo Business in Boston. And I just realized that no one really understood this foundation. This new technology was available, and it was possible to make this new kind of robot with this flexible ability. And all the other ones on the market was still talking about the old technology. So on the way back there, I realized I had this capability. I knew how to make it. I probably knew how to program and produce it, and also from UR some idea of how can we actually sell that. So I just knew it has to be a simple product. It has to be robust. It has to be very easy to use, and it has to be affordable. So these are the three key components of what we do in MiR. We really make it affordable for people to take this mobile robot and use it in their industrial use. I also knew that from my experience in working with agricultural robots, that was very hard. Outdoor robotics is just much more costly, much more complex. You have rain and dust and everything. So I don't think that technology was not at that time and is barely now ready. It's possible to make a robot for outdoor usage. It just costs so much that the benefit from the end user, who in the end drives the project, they're the consumers who buy it, they should have a bigger gain from buying a robot than the price of the robot. And this equation is not right. And I think we're starting MiR there. I think what we really got there was this equation that the robot was affordable and it could actually do a lot of good for the end customer. This, what we call internal logistic there, transporting things around in factories, is actually costing money. And having a solution for that at this affordable price level just meant that the market was ready to adopt that. I always loved technology from an early age. Big machines, I think that's fascinating there. And I was in US in 1977 there. I was visiting my father's family there, and being in that place, we had to go into the movie to see a film there, and then there was on this in front of the theater there was a nice poster there of a half-naked lady, and so that was interesting. I was 30 years old at that time. I was like, yeah, half-naked ladies are interesting also. So I wanted to see that movie there, and I just I went in there, and I came out. I was totally in love, but not with this half-naked lady, but more with this small tin can of robot there. So that was my first time I saw Star Wars. I've seen it more than 20 times since. I think it's really one of a fascinating film that really was had all the kind of story that you as a young boy really loves there. It's an epic in the telling, but it's also the fascination of this future or other place where robot is part of the daily life there. And I knew from that time that I just wanted to make robots sometime in my life, whenever possible. Yeah, I think so. I think it's still this ability to build a machine that actually can help people, and that can come in many facets. I think right now our mobile robot is the one that is more or less driving this, and it's also because there's a need in elder care and other places where everyone knows we need to have some smarter machines that can help us in the future if we are to have a pleasant future. So yeah, so that's been a very old fascination, and it was just very lucky I got the chance later on to start work robotics. I think the robot industry has really grown a lot in the last 10 years because these few factors was right. We had the methods, we had the computing power, so we had the ability of the sensors. So it was coming together in a perfect way. But also it's actually, so what challenges us is that people still want more of the robots. We think the robots are pretty smart now, but they're not really. They are still pretty dumb. We are working with these collaborative robots where we can have the robot operating more or less near us, but they are not really there yet. So what's really the challenging now is that we need the robot to start to understand what we are doing. So we need to change back to the robot must have some kind of perception of what's going around in their surroundings where they are. And also, if they are to work together with humans there, they need to understand what is the intention of the human they operate together with there. So that's really our challenge on how can we make the robot this smart. And there we've been very fortunate in the last few years that this ability of what we call AI has now moved with this deep neural network. We have a chance now to take a step in that direction there. It's now possible to make systems that can have a perception, can see what's going on in surrounding. And we could also imagine that these systems could also be made in a way so they can have awareness of what we're doing and how we actually are operating on what is our intention to do now. I think from the start, I laid down a 5-year plan on where I wanted MiR to be in the first 5 years. And the first couple of years we were a bit behind. And then we came on a nice growth path. So in a way, no, I was not surprised. This was the idea. I wanted to have an exponential growth and like the curve we are on. So I was not surprised. Another way, that's not true, because when you look at it, you say, wow, that's fantastic. So even though it was a planned journey there, when you actually achieve the planned journey, you are surprised in that way, yeah. And I think now, in the next couple of years, we will see what we can do, because the market is there. It's very much up to us now to decide. We are not really, our biggest competitor is lack of knowledge. So it's still that people need to know that the logistic robots here is actually possible to install in an affordable way. It's not other competitors. I think you should be surprised there that you saw after 5 years there will be other competitors there, but not really. And you can say the market is so big, so ignorance is our biggest enemy, and we have to fight that, just to tell who we are, what we do, how fantastic the product are, every day, all year. I think we are on this kind of journey there. So I really hope that the future is that we are able to have our robots to have this much more closer collaboration that I talked about. This ability for our robots to foresee what the humans are and then acting according to that to be a much closer helper. I think robots and machines are outcompeting humans on very many levels, as they should. I think that they are much stronger in some terms, much endurable in other terms. They are made of metal. We are more soft on that part. And I think that robots and machines should be made for repetitive tasks. That is their main job. Humans are not made for repetitive tasks. We use human labor for repetitive tasks, but that's not really a benefit. That's a disadvantage. We are worn down. Humans are so poor at that. We are so much better at being creative, flexible, having an awareness on a situation that a robot cannot have. Yeah, and collaborating in the way that the robots will be part of our daily life, if they are not already. As a lot of machines, we've seen our mobile phone. It's hard for us to believe a world without a mobile phone or some kind of interaction there. They become so natural because they are easy to use. They are easy. They give us a big benefit. And I don't think that they will never become self-aware. This AI threat that we have in the Western world, we always have this anxiety that our children will devour us. We have that from old Greek history or whatever, yeah. So, and that is perhaps is haunting us in the way we always think that the future we will be overtaken. I think from the start it was my clear understanding that you need to go out to the customer as soon as possible to see his real problem. The customer can come and ask and say, can you make this and this? But perhaps it doesn't fulfill all his needs. So if you don't get it out very, very early in the production there, you get surprises after that. So that's why we often work very, very close with our end customers there on trying to solve new things. And they are coming with a lot of different requests. And what generally is we look at them, can they be generalized? So we are still in this process of always how can we make a simple product that is general to use for many different applications. Even though they can come for very specific applications, we always tend to generalize it so really many of our different customers can have benefit from it. I first met Thomas Visti when I was on the board in UR. He was the first guy who came in who was actually managed to sell the robots on a really aggressive way, and that's just in his genes, is to go out and convince customer this is a good product there. Later on, when we then had MiR there and was developing it, I knew there would come a time when we needed that ability again. So I was looking for a CEO who could take over the company there and drive the sales in. And the profile I set up there then met Thomas's, because I knew if you could get a person like that in, that would really, really help your company. And then I was so lucky that Thomas was available on that market at that time. He came, he was out of UR, and was then ready to take on this task again. How can you drive a company from just the bare start and make it a global success again? That's a lot of work. That's a lot of long nights on the road, and you're always being out and being very aggressive. But he had the will to do that again. I was really, really glad of that. So we got Thomas in the autumn of 2014 there. And after that, we went on our first roadshow with DR, and I think end of November there. We put the MiR robot in the back of the car and went out and showed it in really, really many different places. And after that, I think Thomas was really in the mood to say that we have a product here that we can sell, and he started selling that in 2015. Yeah, so I think it's interesting because we can make so many different, we can make almost any kind of robot we want, but the trick is to focus on having the right one at the right price. If you make 10 different robots, they will not be better. In the end, the customer, they just want the robot to be flexible instead. So we would go for that. And with the AI and a lot of software capability, the robot can do so much more. And I think that's more important. And then we just need to make the robot there smarter and better. I think we will keep the robot there in this industrial field, because the cost of ownership of that is right compared to what the savings are for the customer. And you must still remember that some parts, like the laser scanners and the safety part, is more than half the cost of our robot. So it's really a huge advantage there. And I don't think that a normal customer at home actually can go to that price level. So service robots and other robots, they have to be at a whole other range with another safety level that is not available at the moment. Perhaps 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I don't know. So you must remember that to get the robots into the home, they need to be 10 times less price. And we don't have the right technology and safety to do that yet.